Hello and welcome, my name is Kyle FtW and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today, we're going to be breaking down the top 5 best games of 2022. Today is of course New Year's Eve, and I always tend to do a special video on New Year's Eve, whether it's a countdown or anything of that nature. I always like ending the year with a video that is more highly edited, I guess, going into the new year. Hopefully you guys had a really awesome 2022. I personally had a pretty good year overall. I think, you know, the year started off not so good, and then as time went on, towards the end of the year became a really good one, just because of a lot of the things that I decided to do. Obviously the channel took a really big change towards the end of this year, which was definitely not expected. I definitely thought Modern Warfare 2 would be a better Call of Duty game that I would end up making a lot of videos on and really enjoying, and unfortunately that just was not the case. But nonetheless, I have really enjoyed making walkthrough videos, and that's exactly why I decided to do a top 5 best games of 2022, because even though I made Call of Duty videos for the large majority of 2022, I also at the same time played a lot of single player games because I have always enjoyed them. It's just up until now when I actually decided to make videos on them. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and talk about 6 games today, 1 honorable mention, and then of course we'll jump into the top 5. Starting off here, first off with the honorable mention, we have the game called Ghostwire Tokyo. Now, again, actually before I jump into the honorable mention, I should mention really quickly that there is a criteria for this list. I didn't just, come up with it just off the top of my head. I had to either complete the entire game or at least put 10 hours of gameplay into the game itself. So that is why there's these games on this list. If there were other options where, there were other circumstances, those aren't in this list. So I had to play the game for at least 10 hours or complete it. And they also had to come out in 2022. So there's no game that could have come out on late December of last year. So that is the games in this list. So there are a few games on this list. There actually is 1 game on this list that I have not completed, but the rest of them I have, or I put in the amount of hours for this list. So starting off here, first off with my honorable mention, we have Ghostwire Tokyo. Now this game was a game that I was kind of on the fence about buying since it was kind of in the middle of some pretty big releases, but I went ahead and bought it because I saw some reviews on it that were pretty positive overall, and I started to really enjoy this game. Basically, it takes you into a apocalyptic Tokyo in a way. Everybody disappears, and the only citizens that are left in this Tokyo are you, the main character, and these weird sort of creatures. And it's sort of a horror game, but it was a lot of fun, and I was actually really shocked about it. The great things about the game is that it has really good voice acting. I played the entire game in Japanese, which is the first time I've ever done that, and it was really good. And the combat was pretty fun as well. The only reason that it didn't make the list is just the story was very short. It wasn't a very long story. The story was interesting, but again, not a very long story that kept me really engaged. The graphics also weren't really as good as you would have expected from a next-gen game, which is also doxed a little bit, and the side quests and other things like that were also pretty lackluster. But overall, it was a very good game compared to all of the other games that I played this year, and that's why it just doesn't quite make the list, but it was still a good game nonetheless. And if you guys haven't checked it out, it is on sale, so I would definitely recommend buying it if you haven't played it yet, if you're interested in sort of those type of games. So now without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into the top 5 list. So starting off here with number 5, as the top 5th best game of the year, we have the Callisto Protocol. Now, as you guys already know, previously this year, I made a video talking about the top 5 games I was most looking forward to this year, and the Callisto Protocol came in at number 2, and it really did not disappoint me whatsoever. The game is really good, not only graphically, but the combat is pretty fun. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The story was also really interesting, and I really loved the environments that they gave us in the game. There was a lot of really creepy environments, a lot of really interesting places, a lot of interesting enemies, and overall the game was pretty dang good and definitely did not exceed my expectations, but definitely met them absolutely in almost every single way. The only reason that this game isn't higher on the list is, unfortunately, the combat did get very, very annoying towards the end. There's a lot of times where the dodging was clunky and the dodging didn't really work as well as I would have hoped. And with that being said, you would get killed and it would be annoying, and then you would just try and go over and over and over again, just dying and dying and dying. And so I had a lot of deaths in the game, but still, it still helped me to enjoy the story. And it was also the first game that I actually completed here on this channel with a walkthrough. That was a full release, which is very, very cool. And overall, I think the Callisto Protocol was a really, really good game. And I'm definitely excited to see what they're going to do with another game in the series, because not to spoil it, but they definitely set up a second game. So that's going to be very, very exciting to see. So that comes in at my number 5 spot. Now coming in at my number 4 spot for the 4th best game of 2022, we have Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. This game was extremely, extremely fun. Really, really enjoyed this one. This is basically a Borderlands spin-off with the character Tiny Tina, who is just a hilarious character in her own right. But the game was really, really fun, really silly, sort of like High on Life, but, you know, with that Borderlands theme that we all know and love, the same graphic style, the same sort of weapons, classes, all sorts of stuff like that. And I overall thoroughly enjoyed this game. The Borderlands franchise is one of my favorite personal franchises in all of gaming. Really, really enjoyed it. It's actually one of the first single-player games that I actually got into was the Borderlands franchise, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is no different whatsoever. Besides, well, inherently the gameplay is no different, but the story and the way that they made the game is also, but is a lot different comparatively. It's basically, the whole game concept is it's supposed to be a board game where you play as a character, sort of like an RPG, and it was really, really fun. I enjoyed every single minute of it. You know, the loot and shoot aspect from Borderlands transferred over to this sort of medieval theme was just really awesome, and I had a great time playing this game. And you know, the story was really fun and everything of that nature. And, you know, those Borderlands type games, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, those games are designed to be just sheer fun with sarcastic voice audio, fun gameplay, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands definitely delivered. There's really no complaints that I have. I just think that the next 3 games are just better. So now coming in at my number 3 spot of the best games of 2022, we have Horizon Forbidden West. And this game is just incredible. Once again, they delivered in every single way that I thought that they were going to. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite single-player games of all time, so I had really, really high expectations going to Horizon Forbidden West, and they didn't quite meet those really high expectations, but the game is still really good, has all of that awesome combat that we know and love from Horizon Zero Dawn, and it follows the character of Aloy, which is a really interesting character in her own right. And we meet all of the really, really awesome characters. It's very, very familiar, and I think was a very, very awesome and enjoyable sequel. I mean, one of my favorite things about Horizon as just overall is just the concept of the game itself, how they they go so far in the future that, you know, by the time the game takes place, technology is kind of going backwards to sort of a more tribal hunter-gatherer type gameplay, and I just love everything about the game. The game is also really, really gorgeous, which I'm sure you guys can tell from the gameplay in the background. There's so many beautiful areas to explore, so many different side quests. I mean, you could probably spend like your whole life trying to discover everything that's in Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden West, and I just cannot wait for the new DLC, which is supposed to come out for the game later on this year, that I will absolutely be covering for you guys here on this channel. So definitely very, very exciting stuff here for Horizon Forbidden West. Was an absolutely incredible game, and that's why it's at the number 3 spot. Now coming in at the number 2 spot as the next best game of 2022, I had to put it in this list. We have Elden Ring. This game is absolutely amazing in lots and lots of ways. I think at the time I'm recording this video and the gameplay that you guys are seeing, I have 27 hours into this game, and that 27 hours was invested into the game in about a week. Because part of it was because I was sick during the time the game came out and all the sorts of stuff like that. But the game is really, really good. I really enjoyed it. The combat is super, super fun. Like most Souls games, the combat is really fun and really satisfying. And the character builds, the graphics, just everything about Elden Ring is really, really awesome. The only reason it is not at my number 1 spot is because personally, I really am not good at Souls games. I really struggle with them. For whatever reason, I don't really understand how they work. I understand upgrading the characters and everything like that, but I still somehow find a way to get just destroyed in every single fight I do. But I really enjoy the time that I spent on Elden Ring. I just had to force myself to stop playing it since I was putting so much time into it. It was actually insane. But Elden Ring, really awesome game. I wish I could say more about the story. I only got up to the second boss fight, which I can't even remember what the name of the second boss is off the top of my head, but really enjoyed the game overall. I think it is definitely deserved the Game of the Year award during the Game Awards. But for me, there is one game that slightly that out-edges this game in almost every single way. Elden Ring is still number 2, great game, but the number 1 spot by far destroys every other game on this list, and that has to go at my number 1 spot for the best game of 2022. It has to go to God of War Ragnarok. Now, at the time I'm recording this video, I have actually completed the game. I'm just going to be uploading the rest of the parts as the days go on. But this game, I'm not going to spoil the ending or anything like that, but God of War Ragnarok, I've been talking about it through all of my videos while we've been covering it, and my walkthrough series is just absolutely amazing in every single way. The game has the best voice acting I have ever heard. Every single character in the game has something interesting to say. The side content of the game, from what I've heard, is absolutely insane. There's so many different things to do. Graphically, the game is absolutely beautiful. Just so nice to look at. Again, the characters are so interesting. Mimir, Freya, Kratos, Atreus, so on and so on and so on. All the characters, super interesting. The voice acting, they just did so well with it. The combat is incredibly fun in every single way. It's satisfying, it's rewarding. You never feel underpowered. You have to upgrade your gear because you will eventually feel underpowered, but almost always when you play this game you feel overpowered, and it is just so much fun. The story was absolutely incredible. Again, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the game itself, as the story went on, was more and more interesting, and you just wanted to know what happened next. And I do mention this in my conclusion to the game, but one of the things about the game is that it is a very long game. I think the final time it took me to complete it from start to finish was 27 hours, so about as much time as I put into Elden Ring. But it didn't feel like it. It was, it was just going on and on and on and on and on. It felt like when you completed the game, you were like, I want to play this game more, which almost never happens to me. Normally when I complete a single player game, I'm like, okay, on to the next one. But with God of War Ragnarok, I did not feel that way. And I'm definitely excited to make more videos on this game after I post the ending, because, we have a long time before the next big release comes out, so I have plenty of time to play this game. And God of War Ragnarok, by far, is my favorite game of the year, and is the best game, in my opinion, of 2022, because it just does everything perfectly, no matter what. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say about God of War Ragnarok. Just amazing, 10 out of 10 game. If you guys have not picked up God of War Ragnarok or played it yet, you are definitely missing out, and I highly recommend you go ahead and pick it up, because you will absolutely love every single minute of it. So there we go, guys. That is going to do it for my top 5 best games of 2022. I think it was overall a pretty solid year of good games, and I'm extremely excited for 2022 or 2023, because we're supposed to be getting a lot of really awesome releases, from Forspoken to Starfield to Dead Island 2. Lots and lots of awesome releases, and I will be continuing to do gameplay walkthrough videos as long as I'm enjoying it, or until we get to Treyarch's 2024 Call of Duty game. I know that is not the news that a lot of you guys would have liked to hear, but that's just personally where I'm at. I am still playing Call of Duty. I've actually been playing a lot of Advanced Warfare, funnily enough, as of late. Actually prestiging that game for the first time in years. I've been really enjoying playing that on my own time. But as far as making videos on Call of Duty goes, I'm going to hold off for a while, just because of lack of enjoyment for Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 just does not appeal to me, and a lot of you guys know that. So for those guys who have stuck by me for all of these walkthrough videos over the past 2 months, I really appreciate it. Any view on it means a lot, especially because it's such a big change from Call of Duty. And from the YouTubers I've watched throughout the years, if you switch from Call of Duty to something else, your channel goes crashing into the ground, which is why a lot of the times people will make 2 channels so that they can upload gameplay walkthroughs and just quit the Call of Duty channel, which I understand, but I already have a following on this Call of Duty channel, so why would I quit and start a new channel just for walkthroughs. So we're gonna stick with it as long as we can, and here's hoping that Call of Duty 2024, if my channel doesn't get any growth, is good, so I can go back to making Call of Duty content for you guys. But again, really good game, really good year of games, and I definitely recommend checking out all these games on this list, including especially God of War Ragnarok, but I'm sure most of you have already played Elden Ring and everything like that. But anyways, if you guys did enjoy this video, I would appreciate it. I'm gonna check out any of my other previous videos from the past week. I'll leave my previous one link down below, as well as I will also leave my second channel video for you guys to check out as well. Again, thank you guys all so much for your support throughout 2022. Here's to 2023. Hopefully, guys have an absolutely amazing year and a safe New Year's Eve. And I'll see you guys all on another video very, very soon.